Renee and I are gonna take you guys through round by round so far on the FD season. We have one round left and we'll recap that and get some footage of that for you guys as well. Put it at the end of this video.
Yeah, so in this video we want to cover pretty much, when this comes out, we will have covered all 8 rounds. We'll talk in a little more detail of rounds 1 through 7 since that's what we've competed in so far, and then we're also going to take you outside in the shop. We're filming in here right now because there's AC and we didn't want to be melting in front of you guys, but we'll take you out in the shop.
We want to make some upgrades to the pro car. Every year that happens. Practice car, or some of you guys know it as Baby Blue. Renee's SC, and then we have another surprise vehicle that Renee is going to be working on.
This was our year coming back into Formula Drift. We wanted to be like really open with the direction that we could take our program. You're going to see some different media that we had in place throughout the season, like from round to round. We had different people get involved, our crew.
Yeah, think about it, we weren't there for a year. We were scrambling to find the right partners, so changes to our partners, multiple new partners, that's what helped us come back into FD. And then the team, we basically revised the team. It was going to be a completely new team, and then changes were made at round 1 because things weren't working out how they needed to flow. And then there was actually an additional friend of ours that drifts here in Florida that started helping a couple of rounds. So we'll kind of fill you in on all those people and what they did and how it worked. But starting out for Long Beach round, for round 1, a little bit nervous because the track is not forgiving whatsoever. There's a wall on every corner, or on both sides of every corner of the whole track. I hadn't been there for a year, so you're like, okay, I gotta level up again and be better than, you wanna outdo yourself the previous year. So came into it, guess what? There's a new rule, seating bracket. You're dead last, Dan, because you don't have any points from last year. And we're going off 23 points. So I'm like, I'm not a fan of the seating bracket, really. I'm sure there's a way it could work, but there isn't the right amount of drivers to make it work how I would want it to work. Like if you split it 16 seated drivers, 1 through 16 in points, boom, you're seated. Everyone else has to participate in the seating so that you kind of mix it up 50% when it's time for a 32 bracket. Not the case. They were hoping there would be a 40 something amount driver, whatever. There's still a bunch of buy runs in seating almost every round, and occasional buy runs in 32, which to me doesn't, I don't know, someone that was ready to drive that was there didn't get to drive in the show. I don't know.
The one very positive thing about it
is tandem laps.
Yeah,
so
you get seat time.
I forgot. There's not all negative, I guess. I was saying the negative things, but I think I still would prefer regular qualifying. But like she said, it is right out of the gate tandem laps.
You'll see that in round 2.
And your battle, I guess, isn't as important. You better win your first one, but your second and however many you make it aren't as important because you're already in the show. But they technically are just as important because you're battling for the top 8 spots, or to battle the guys that are in the top 8 spots, and those guys are good. So you're like, why? This doesn't make sense. Anyways, so I was determined to get out of the seating bracket. We won first couple battles in that, and then I ended up losing my 3rd battle. Don't understand why, whatever. You're like, I'm in the show. Then you start figuring out who you're gonna battle. Turns out I was battling Frederick Osbo. We all know how great he is, but I'm like, okay, he's gonna give me a great lead lap and he's gonna go as fast as he can because that's how Frederick drives. You just gotta commit behind him. And I did, but I pushed a little beyond the limit of my tire right as I got to outer zone 3 or 2, but whatever. The big one, get in right next to him, and it just starts to get in the tire BBs near the wall. I didn't touch the wall, but it was, if I stayed floored, it would have just spun it out and did a 360, so I just had to get out of the gas. I'm like, no. Still in the seating bracket for the following round because it got me into 32, but I needed to get out of 32 into 16 to be out of the seating bracket. So I was thinking, okay, there's positives here. Won a couple battles, got to drive with Frederick, but realistically, you never want to go out in 32. And when you do, you're just upset with yourself,
I've seen throughout the season, you have a way of turning it up when you do get to drive with Frederick. You just have fun when he's a very clean driver and pushes the limits. It's really fun to watch them drive together. You guys will see that in some of the footage that we put in the video, like even all the way up
later
to round
practice,
7. Yeah.
Had some good laps with Frederick this year,
This was our first year. We had to start the season off like many other teams, but going all the way to Long Beach versus being an hour away. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
It was so much driving. Are you kidding?
And we were ready in time. It was fine. So bounce from Long Beach, come back to Atlanta, round 2.
Yeah.
That was a fun round. You had a lot of driving.
Atlanta is one of my favorite tracks. I like the fact that it's super high speed, like right out of the gate, you can just go as fast as you can. You do scrub a lot of speed for first turn, but then you're like in 5th gear, back in the gas and fly up that hill and time everything right, so you just kiss the edge of the track and don't fly off in the grass there. And I'm good at that track, I like it. Another thing about that track, I don't think it's easy for the judges to just pick someone, because you can't just get in there and stay in there. There's transitions through smoke in 3 areas there. Right down the hill, back up the hill, like, you know, first initiation, that's a tricky one because you got to time getting back on the gas and not be too far behind them, but not be in their smoke where you can't see. Again at the top of the keyhole, and then again in the same spot as you return back to like the finish line.
A lot of the cars find the very edge of the track there.
And so like, I think that track, like, they just have to judge it how it is. And some tracks, the judging, you will be frustrated with that track. There's probably blind spots where they can't see too, so it's like, it's just, you just gotta drive hard there and it's fun. It's risky as heck, but I guess every track in FT is risky for your car, but it was fun. Got 2nd in the seating bracket.
In our seating brackets is Jeff Jones! Jeff Jones gets the win! There is 2nd place for the Rad Industry Sunex Tool GT Radio Mark IV Supra, Rad Dan Burkett. There's your podium here for our K&N seating brackets.
2nd place here, we have Rad Dan Burkett. Rad Dan, you were looking absolutely dialed in the comp tonight. You did have a timeout, but what was going on with that?
Off the rim, behind Kyle, I got like too close and couldn't transition and hit the rumble strip. Broke a wheel, but I could tell, so I was like, we gotta switch that. And then the GTs are hooked up and I could just get on it and the car goes.
Do you think the timeout affected you at all?
Oh, no. We're just here to have fun, and Sunex Tools are keeping the car together on the track, and I'm just trying to get a better parking space in the pits, you know?
Hey, you heard him. Give him that better parking spot. Thank you so much.
Then that put us against Nick Novak. Had a good battle with Nick and we advanced, and then we advanced again.
Who did we have?
Alec Robbins maybe. And then we had Simon Olsen.
Yes.
And it was gonna be a good one, but I kept making changes to my car to make it have more grip up the hill after, you know, your first initiation, corner 1, go up the hill towards like outer zone 2. The car felt like it just wanted to pull me off the track, so I was kind of like feathering the clutch and gas there. I see other cars do that when you watch in-car, but I was like, I just want my car to like let me floor it up the hill. So behind Simon, kind of knew
Floored it.
shouldn't do this, but then I floored it and it did just suck me backwards off the track. I'm like, so I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, this is good footage.
And the car like,
Flew.
the track rolls off and has like a nice drainage ditch there or whatever, because it's downhill. And yeah, my car like shot it, like bounced on the rumble, dipped in that, and then shot out of that. Somehow, all it did is bend one rear control arm.
We thought it looked
and
much worse.
It debeated a tire, but like overall, I don't know. We ended that round in top 8. That's good. How's it going, everyone? I wanted to interrupt this video and let you know that it's our Black Friday sale. We only do this once annually, starting right now, all the way through the end of the month, till December 2nd, actually. So jump on the website, grab your rad billet parts. Everything we make is on sale, between 10% up to 30%, depending on what it is. We also have Link ECU on sale. We're gonna have WiseFab on sale here shortly. Lots of cool stuff. Grab your merch right now. Let's take a look real quick at some of the parts that you could get. We got a couple 2J engines with our parts on them. Upper water neck with a lower water neck there for standard water pump. Or if you're race engine guy, you want the race upper water neck. And the water inlet alternator bracket, our alternator. This is a Bosch power steering pump kit. This is the KRC power steering pump kit. Then we even have the GE billet upper water neck. Then we got the adapters for AN fittings for the back of your head or the side of your head over here. And then let's go take a look at some of the parts just laid out on the table. We got billet main caps here, our handbrake, a couple varieties of different parts here in black Anna and machined. And then don't forget about this timing tensioner bracket, and there's much more. So head over to the website. Now's your chance to save, guys. Excited to go, back home to Florida after that. The next race is in Florida. Before and after the round Orlando, we have a bunch of friends that'll come through or use the shop and park their trailers. Maybe like check over their drift car on the lift or whatever.
This is really a circus dog.
So that was a good time for like a month straight. We just had people coming through.
We were kind of in the moment. Didn't vlog any of that, but we'll include some stories in here for you guys to see some of the fun that was had.
We should step back for a second. So before we talk about round 3 OSW, this year when we were gonna go back, we're like, hey, if we go back, like the last 9 years of FD previous to this, just like went by and you're stressed out because as much as you guys enjoy watching it, it's so much work. You won't know unless you did it or you're doing something very similar. Like it's your whole year in your life, and the day that you take off to like go to the beach or something, you feel guilty because you're like, I'm supposed to do like 33 other things and now I'm behind.
I feel like we even forget before the season. We know we're gonna be tired, but then like
it's so much.
By halfway we're like, oh my gosh.
I mean, it could be different if you had a much larger like monetary budget to work from. We are like doing a lot of things ourselves, and we got what we could do, and we knew we could make it happen for the amount we got because we already own our equipment, and I drive the truck, work on the car, like rebuild the car in the off season. A lot of it's all done myself, and Renee does a lot herself. So we said if we go back, we're gonna enjoy this, and we have had some of the most fun that we've had with Daniel and Andrew this year. We were not gonna have Andrew. I guess we gotta step back again. And we were like, Andrew, you just gotta come to Long Beach because he's local. He could drive there. It's not that hard for him. Help out the other 2 new guys. And
Andrew's been on our team
for
4 years.
This would have been his 4th year, I think. Yeah, because I think he did 20, 21, and 22, and then we weren't there 23. And he's like, yeah, I'll for sure come to Long Beach. And he had a blast at Long Beach. Was like, it's different. I like it better. And it's like, so he's saying that, and we're like, yeah, it was pretty fun. But then we had this other guy that we were trying to make be part of the crew that we had flown to Florida as a sample, run day at the track, and then had him in Long Beach.
The crew's like really important, and everyone kind of has to vibe with each other. It needs to be the right kind of energy for Dan to like be in the right mindset. So it really takes like the right combination
and
of people.
Physical work that they actually have to physically do.
Yeah,
like
very demanding.
We were like, hey Andrew, please do the rest of the year. So then Andrew's like, okay, it's fun, I'll do it. Like, yeah, let's do this. So then he's been with us this year. We don't know that the team that we currently have even gets to like roll over into next year because life happens to everyone, and these guys are having fun, but they also like have families and kids.
A little perspective on it, there's 8 rounds, and it is about a week,
It's like
that
4 to 5
you ask
days.
the people, so you put
time.
you put that together, that's 8 weeks, that's 2 months out of the year that these crew guys are typically dedicating to a drift team. A goal of ours is to make it worth it for them and be able to cover their pay as if they were at home, but that's a challenge of running a race program and
job that person has.
Yeah, both our guys have families, so yeah, we're very thankful that we have them this year, and of course we wish we could have them each year, but we're still figuring out some of that.
That's one other element. So then after we made it out of the seating bracket, this was our first round not having a seating bracket, and we knew that our battle was against Connor Shanahan, and he's gonna drive like real hard and aggressive. And I was like, well, I can beat him. I need to drive just a little more aggressive. The goal was to get the car like fast on the second outer zone, because if you've driven OSW or watched and you're real technical, you can see the cars don't have any forward moment, like they're just stagnant at that speed that they entered. They maybe can gain a mile an hour or two, but like it's a real rough surface. The tires are already really hot because you've been on the gas so long from outer one through inner one and inner two, and then you're back locked on a flat surface, and the tires are, hey, I don't have any more to give you because like they're already maxed out on heat, and that track surface is like a cheese grater, just chunks of rock, you know, like not great. We're doing all these changes every lap, keep changing the gear, reducing the wheel speed, but like towing in the car more, making other changes like with spacers and offset tire pressures, all these things. That's the round that we had Matt Schulman helping Renee's spot, so like we had an additional set of eyes in a different spot. I mean, that's not a very technical track, I would say, if you can just do it almost without a spotter, you know where you need to be, but every little bit helps. But Matt was helping like with setup, like I would be like, I think we should do this, and it's good to like have someone that also sets up their own car. He's not at the same level, but he has like same idea, and he's really into alignment setups and whatnot. So he was like, yep, I would do that. Yep, you're thinking the same thing. So like, usually I don't make that many changes because I'm just like, no, I'll figure it out. And I was like, I have to. My car needs to be fast down there too on outer two. Finally figured it out with like 2 laps to spare, got some good chases in, and then we're like, okay, time to battle Connor. And I got to lead first, and I like had just pulled like a decent gap and stayed there until the very end of outer two. He like chased the line like however best he could with low angle and caught up to me at the very end as we crossed the finish line. Then it's my turn, so I'm like, okay, all I need to do is put it on him and be aggressive as possible the entire lap. So I enter in and I right up on him and I bump him and I bump him again, and we're like going on outer one, perfect. Stay tight on inner one, but then I stayed too tight, too long past inner one, and like choked myself out, and then I like transition and floored to dive through, but I did it at the wrong time, and I put myself on the inside, like I hit inner clip 2 with like the opposite side of my front fender, so that means like 2 front tires are off, like you just can't. And I like massage it back out, get behind him, and I'm on him at like the last half of outer 2, but it's like I had that large error in the middle, and he didn't really have an error, he just got gapped because he didn't expect, he told me later, didn't expect you to be that fast. It's like, okay, well, don't sleep on the line, I guess. But anyways, yeah, that was frustrating. Yeah. Overall, super good notes now for next year. I have exactly the setup to make my car fast as heck there, so.
Orlando was like,
that's good.
I think that was my favorite round out of the year because of how we were working as a team, and it was so much fun because it was one of those things where we were making the right choices and we were seeing the results, and that's so encouraging because so often you're just constantly troubleshooting because it's not easy. It becomes very complex. So with Matt's input, and I think like it was a funny dynamic because Matt is very respectful. He comes into it like he's coming into the team and we have our ways of doing things, but I feel like Matt and I are kind of on this level where I like understand like what he's trying to push.
Yeah. So, like,
and I will just like tell the guys, and Matt's like, thank God, Renee, like I was yelling.
Because like, I want to make a change to a toe camber, tire pressures, like a spring rubber, a spacer, things like that. But I like, for some reason, I hate lowering my wheel speed. And Matt told me to do it once, if not twice, and I did it. And then I think there was a third time, so I think there was 4 separate wheel speeds that we like tried. I think it was 123, 121, 119.
We were just making
and
such good progress.
We ended at 116, and I'm like, no, we're not going any lower. I'm gonna be on the limiter the whole time. And then Matt's like, well, I think we should. And then I'm like, I don't want to. And then Renee's like, change the gear now. I'm like,
They were all beating around the bush, and I'm like, we have nothing to lose.
Yeah, we
have
had
the
no time left.
This makes sense.
No, I wanted a chase lap, and you're like, change the gear, get in the lead line, and just get one lap. And I'm like, ah. So because that was the end of practice, and we knew we could pull that off. And no one wants to lead at the end of practice. They're all trying to dial in their chase. So that's what we did. It worked out. That was funny.
That was a lot of fun. It's just like, I think with more data that we get at each track, I mean, you shouldn't have to be doing that every time, but like, I think any change we make, we're gonna see the result of it in a positive way as we gain like more understanding of everything. And yeah, that was really cool. And we also discovered running the car at a different setting in Orlando, which led us up into round 4, where it kind of like backfired on us. But before, let's see, I wanted to touch on how living here in Florida, I feel like OSW has kind of become our home track in a way. There's been a couple of different events that we've gone to there, different track days that I've got to be a part of just on the skid pad. And Dan's also gotten involved with USDC, the US Drift Circuit, and he's been judging there through round 3 by now. They also had a round at Sebring, but I just bring that up because it's been cool, like settling in here in Florida. I think this would be a good time to take them out to the shop and let them know like about some of our plans.
Yep, we could go check out some of the cars.
Okay.
And go over what we're gonna do, and then we'll do separate videos on each of those.
Yes.
All right, guys, check it out. Oh no, we're not talking about the Corvette. Check it out. No, we're not talking about the Airboat. Here's the Lexus that Renee's been practicing a lot with this year. This car's like simple, but just perfect for what she's doing. I think she's finally at the level that it does not make quite enough horsepower, and we're gonna make a couple upgrades to it. Let's open the hood for 1 second and show them, and then we'll talk about it for like 30 seconds, guys. Our plan is strip out the interior. As you can see, it has most of the interior. We're gonna pull the engine out and simplify some stuff. Like, it doesn't need a heater core anymore. It doesn't need AC. It just needs a radiator, intercooler, oil cooler, and then it needs a bigger turbo. So it's got a little baby Borg Warner EFR. It has a little too much back pressure, and right now we only make, I think it's 280 on pump gas to the wheel, and it has a ZF transmission behind the engine. So everything works good, but we need a little bit more horsepower. So probably go with a 7670 EFR, and we might have to change that exhaust manifold to make it fit. We'll test fit. If it works with that, we will use that, but if not, switch it. And then Renee can have 3 boost settings, like a 300, a 400, and maybe a 500. And then maybe we put a roll cage in here, and then she can start dancing.
With you.
Yeah.
I'm not planning on competing or doing anything serious. I just want to learn how to drift and be able to drive on some of the tracks that we go to. That's what I think right now. Dan's like, no, you're going to compete and do all kinds of stuff. I'm like, calm down. When we do cover the SC300, because this is most likely going to become, some people have said it's my car. I've never felt like it's my car because we've had different people drive it. Dan's driven it. I really want to take ownership of a car. But with that, I want to be familiar with it. I want to know how to work on it for the most part, more than I know now. So when we do that series, it'll be both Dan and I working on it, which is something we've never done before. So something for you guys to look forward to.
Hey, look, there's another one. Okay, look. There's a white Crown Vic.
I am the proud owner of a Crown Vic. This one belongs to me, guys. We have some upgrades that we're going to be making to it. The parts just came in. We still have like 2 more, right, that we're waiting on?
There's 2 more.
But
some dual caliper brackets
we've
for
got
the
a
back.
handful of parts that are already here. Dan and I are going to work on this together also. Kind of different content. But you're going to have to wait for that video to find out why the heck I have a Crown Vic.
And it has its normal V8 in it and everything. And it's a 2011, the last year they made it. Ooh.
That's Matt Schulman's car.
Hey, look, a car. Okay.
Follow, guys.
Mr. Matt Schulman. Okay, practice Supra. So, this car has been extremely reliable and never really did anything like any failures except had a couple times where the T4 gasket would get loose and I forget to tighten those bolts.
Because you kept it simple.
Yeah, and it tried to cook the engine harness on actually a section I wasn't using that would have gone to, I think, exhaust manifold back pressure, but I wasn't even using it at the time, but it like cooked two wires together, so it had some shut off issue one time. Found it, we've never had that issue again. And one other thing that happens with this car is you break diffs because it's got a stock diff in it. It's 7 years, this engine, 7 years in here, 0 issues, but it's starting to get lazy and lose power a little bit.
Are you gonna be doing upgrades?
I did a leak down, and it's like, you could do it cheap and just take the head off, do a valve job, slap it back in, keep going. But it's time for Baby Blue to grow up a little bit. So it's gonna get a different engine, a different turbo, and kind of go through. And when you start doing something like that, clearly a bunch of other things will like show their face and be like, hey, I'm kind of braking or whatever, and you're gonna end up replacing a bunch of stuff. Similar to probably what will happen with the Lexus, but the idea here is that I could get this closer to the Pro car so that when I'm driving this, it's almost the same seat time as driving the Pro car, because right now it's like not, and the whole time I'm like complaining. It works and it's a great car, but I'm complaining like it's so slow, like there's no horsepower. There's no way it makes 500 anymore. It's just weak right now. Other stuff we gotta do is work on the Pro car. The Pro car's in the trailer in Utah still. It's not here. Off-season refresh, we'll tear it down and like fix whatever needs fixing. We'll upgrade, hopefully only minimal things so you don't take yourself too far out of your comfort zone in the off-season, and you can get it back together quickly, and it feels very similar to what it did last time you drove it. Behind us we have a broken Z3. We're fixing it, but seat time machine, I just wanted to show you.
Seat time machine, I like that.
It looks just like a little skateboard. Skateboard deck.
We were tandeming in them yesterday and I messed up and Dan wrecked into me a couple times.
She just didn't really mess up. I'm trying to be like she starts to spin and I'm like, wait, get out of her way, and I like clutch dive in next to her, but she like she rotated too much and I dove in front wheel the front bumper and I broke a tie rod on there.
We were just laughing every time.
Yeah.
So that's all the content to come. Some of what's been taking place at the shop. I know you guys, we haven't brought you in here in a while, so.
But we just want to tell you what we're gonna do. We'll tell you the car we're gonna work on, but we want the cool details to happen when we do it.
Yes.
So
hope you guys enjoyed hearing about that. We're gonna have a lot of that on the channel, so stay tuned. But now we're back to
round 4.
Yeah, so I was talking about
Jersey.
the setting we learned about in the car. I don't know if that's something you want to disclose. In round 3 at Orlando and then going into New Jersey, we chose to run the car at that same setting, which was using more nitrous.
Like smaller tracks will use the lower horsepower boost setting, but then in a way it uses a little more nitrous. I think it's because you're gonna get in and out of the throttle pedal more, and you kind of like drive the car harder, and the boost isn't as high number of a boost setting, and where the nitrous parameters are, it's like it'll fall right at that edge, so it's like squirts a little bit more hits of nitrous.
I think it's really like suitable for your driving style, but it has to be proper for the track that we're at, and it happened to work for Jersey.
It worked at a lot of the tracks, just not like Atlanta. You're gonna go at a higher setting. Washington at a higher setting. Utah. So we go into Jersey. To me, that's an easy track. So is OSW in a way, but like Jersey is an easy track. You're not going that fast. You just need to commit to the line, be right on the edge of the track, and drive very hard and aggressive. And we were ready to do it. We studied, a bunch of laps from previous years before we show up there. Right out of the trailer. First laps in practice, driving good, right on people's doors, and continued through all of practice. Another round we weren't going to be in seating, so you know who you're going to battle. We were confident, like our bracket was good, like the bracket was going to be good. It's never easy in FD, like almost everyone there is amazing and deserves to be there.
Anything can happen.
And yeah, I could always make a mistake and they could beat you, or even Frederick can make a mistake and then you get the win. Or you just battle real clean and do better. So that's always the thought, is no one's gonna make a mistake and you just have to outdrive them. But I was ready from the beginning, super confident, and it was very hot there though. So we did run into like battery and alternator getting too hot because we weren't opening the hood when we were idling and it was 97 degrees outside. And then you mean to your car, everything's just, you know, melting hot. We had a couple little things we had to work on the car, but we always have all the spares. Everything was good back out. One thing we didn't do or think about was weigh the nitrous bottle after 6 laps, because typically you can get a whole day of practice with the higher boost setting, but we were way into our lower boost setting this year, running it way more, like at almost every track we could this year. So
drastic difference.
And this track in particular is just, you get in next to someone and chase and you're just like pedaling. You do left foot brake, but it will like bring it below boost and hit nitrous. So like I just used a lot of nitrous, go into my battle. Saturday practice, we got a bunch of laps in before the battles, go into my battle, and it had been a little bit slippery at the last bit of practice. So I was like, let's lower the tire pressure a little bit, I'll drive harder. So we do that, gets cloudy, rains for like 10 seconds, and then there's a cloud, and the rain didn't really do anything to like the track being wet, but it lowered the temperature of the track, which when that happens, it grips up. The clouds stayed over to where you weren't even like miserably hot in your car waiting in line with your helmet on. You're like, oh, it just dropped like 12 degrees outside. That also gripped up the track, and then I was out of nitrous. That also really gripped up the track. And then here's the like kicker for that though. If you've activated nitrous on your keypad and it's all automated when it's gonna spray, based on TPS, like throttle input on your throttle pedal, based on RPM, where it's windows allowed to, and based on boost. But when it sprays, it pulls timing. When it tried to spray when I'm driving, I've added grip, the track added its own grip, then I don't have nitrous, but it's saying that it's spraying nitrous, so it retards the timing and it adds fuel, which also makes you have less horsepower. So combine all that, that's a bad combination, and my car was like, I enter in and get on the gas and it just like pulled the front of the car, didn't spin the tires, and like pushed the front of the car like over, and I'm like, whoa, and I clutched, I could feel it all happening. So I like stabbed the clutch and like get it to spin the tires, but it didn't light off originally, kind of straightened me, so I do a bobble, not like straight, but it took angle out, and then I lose ground, and then I like transition kind of weird and trying to make up ground to outer 2, same thing happened, and I like lose ground, and I like force it to spin the tires, and I get in there, and then same thing happens at outer zone 3, but that time I was like, you're not doing this, like clutch kick it like so hard, and it just drives me right into Taylor really hard. I'm like, God, you do all these great laps and you do this when everyone's watching for the main show. I was so upset.
That was such a tough one to swallow. I know, me too. It was a tough one to swallow, and that was just like, we had no one to blame but ourselves on that, and we should have known, and like, it was just terrible, because I even remember like when I play it back, our very last lap in practice, where like practice was almost ending, Dan was gonna chase Connor Shanahan out there, and Connor had to shut his car down going into the first zone. I don't know if it was a transmission issue, and if we would have just had that lap, we would have known then that the car was out of nitrous, and so it's just, there's so many things that lead up to it, and I bring those things up not to like talk about excuses for us, but just so you guys can like understand all the factors that are covered for those teams that are at the top, that like they really deserve a lot of credit for the successes they've had in, you know, eliminating a lot of those possibilities. There's so much that goes into it.
Most likely they have just as many or more years of like showing up as we do.
Yeah.
Either their car is that much simpler so that if they don't need to like have nitrous or something, they don't have to monitor as much, or like maybe they just have a larger engine with that much more torque or whatever, or they have way more budget and they have way more humans. Like they have a guy that's there that's just checking logs on the ECU, or their guys have been with them for 8 years because they have the budget to keep paying these adults. We're not done trying, but we're like so frustrated when something like that lets like a good weekend just slip out of your fingers. And like every weekend could be a great weekend at FD, but like you're battling some really good drivers and it only takes one error for you to be like, it's over for you. Unless they somehow simultaneously make a bigger error or in their lead lap or chase make a bigger, I don't know.
I always try to look at it like, what's our takeaway, you know? And when things like that happen, even though we just feel like so dumb for it, you know, it's like, okay, well then we can check that one off the list and we know that that mistake will not be made again.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to in order to become better. You know, there's a reason why the teams that have been doing it since the beginning are some of the top teams, you know, or people that are really up there. They may be getting like more drive time or I don't know, whatever it may be, but like I feel like a lot of, you know, everyone has to go through those mistakes to get better, you know, get to that level that
it's like you're not
it's
gonna
painful.
well, like you have to fail to figure out how to be successful.
Yes.
So you got to keep failing until you're successful. We are definitely doing, but I feel like we still had our best driving this year.
For sure.
But we didn't have our best results overall, like at the end of the year, unless we win the last round.
There's been so many pep talks this year.
But like we did like some of like our favorite driving, and we said if we come back, we have to outdo ourselves. I feel like there is areas where we have outdone ourselves. We also took in each round, like took it all in and just enjoyed what we could.
We're more present.
It is stressful still. We're still stressed about it and it's still a lot of work, but like we forced ourselves to enjoy it and like ate good food with the guys and like just had fun with the guys. But like, I don't know, like we need a carbon fiber trophy badly.
We will get it. We will get it. There's a big difference this year, like after really just giving it like our absolute all in every area of our life in like our years from 2015 to 2022, right? Those last few years, it was a lot. We were getting a little burnt out and it was like everything we were doing still wasn't enough. And we would not have made the choice to take off 23 if it weren't for the circumstances that we were dealing with at that time. Going into the season this year when it did get hard, I felt like for me it was very different because it was like we chose to come back, you know? And in a way where it was like, this is what we wanted, this is where we want to be, and we're ready to give what it takes. Versus like, I think those last few years, you know, it was getting a little heavy and a little like you were missing out on all the good stuff that's going on around you in the midst of all the demands, you know? So it felt different this year. Moving along, round 5, St. Louis.
Very confident about the track. It's a somewhat easy track. It's too much car for the track, so it's just kind of being technical with
That's
your
the
car.
most challenging part of it.
But you can just dial your car in for that track to still be fast, but still have angle and style and do what you need to do and be competitive. So we did that and we got a bunch of good laps in. Pretty much confident right at the beginning and knew what we needed to do in our battle. We set forth to do that and the judges thought otherwise and it was pretty frustrating.
It was very frustrating. So you see a lot of different styles of driving across the drivers throughout FD. This round, we experienced the frustrating challenges of how that kind of like the repercussions of that on us. When you were in the chase position. It was very difficult for us to understand the judging calls on that one, and we realized we're in a judge sport, and you know, I will say that FD is trying to do their best, and I'm always trying to just be open and understand what it is that they want to see out of drivers, and we thought that we were doing that, and I guess that just wasn't the case.
every time the judges are gonna tell you exactly what they're looking for, and they kind of reiterate it all season. Sometimes they judge with what they guided you on what they're looking for, and you're like, okay, so 2 + 2 = 4, cool. And then there's rounds that they just throw that all out the window and they judge it differently, and you're like, what? You tell us this, what? And so
it's hard to understand how to be better, what to do
and
different.
you ask them, and then they won't have it's like no accountability at some points, or the way they answer is because they're just on defense and they don't have an answer, and that was a super frustrating round. And
we always, like, from day one, we always kind of felt very clear on, we want to just hold ourselves to a standard of being, like, in a scenario of a battle, just having it be very clear of the better driver won that time. Mm-hmm. And so we have never protested or anything like that. Even if we felt like it, once we reasoned through certain things, we're like, no, this is what we could have done different. Yeah. This is how we could have been better. This is the takeaway. This is what we need to, learn, And this time was just kind of a big fill in the blank still. So, we had to learn how to handle that, I guess, at that round. That was a tough one. Yeah.
So then we're like still chasing that momentum that we need to like get past 32, and we just had 3 in a row where we didn't, and we're like, we can't let this slip away, because like we wanted to just end the season in better points than we've ever done before. I mean, that's like a big ask. There's a ton of competitive people, and it's not like we have a very large budget. We're just barely making it through, but
that's part of it.
If you had a giant budget, you could show up early and practice a track. That's one example. You could drive your other car like every other weekend, but you just need more manpower, help, and whatever. So like that was devastating to walk away from St. Louis that way. We're like, we're trying so hard and putting the effort, like why? After round 5 in St. Louis, we knew we had round 6 Seattle, which is one of my favorite tracks, home state where I grew up. Lots of friends there, good vibe at that track, and we're like, okay, we gotta push through top 32 and go as far as we can in Seattle. Like we only have 2 more chances. So going into that round though, we brought another media guy on, Andreas, and he got a little bit more behind the scenes footage for you guys, did some interviews with us. We're gonna add that into this video, so enjoy that, and we give you a full breakdown of how that round went.
What's going on? We're here at Formula Drift, getting some morning shots, setup day, getting the tent set up, and yeah, should be a good start to the day. Specifically today, we're gonna have to do a nut and bolt check on the whole car. We do that every single day, like every day before practice, every day before competition. It's basically checking every single nut and bolt on the car. It's pretty self-explanatory, especially suspension-wise. This car specifically has a T4 flange and the turbo likes to come loose, so that's definitely checked all the time. We're gonna have to do a string alignment today just because it's a different track. Make sure the nitrous are filled. You wipe down the car, make sure everything's good. Check all the fluids. We have to do the oil change and transmission fluid change, as well as make sure we're right in the right gear spec. Make sure the body panels are all secure. Make sure we have all the tools. Right now we're getting ready to go do a string alignment in somewhere that's a flat surface. We're getting to make sure all the tools that we need are on hand, and we have everything, all the equipment's ready. So yeah, that's all we're doing right now, to make sure everything's squared away.
So my name is Daniel, and my role in the team is I'm a technician. So today we're just setting up the car, going through it, making sure all the bolts and suspension is tied up before the car goes out in the track. I usually check all the bolts and control arms underneath of the car and make sure that there's no leaks, and then I'll do the fluid changes on the car. and just make sure everything is squared up and nothing is loose and the car is just safe to go down the track.
Yesterday we had 3 1.5-hour practices. Team did great. We had to switch out the gearing a couple times just to kind of get things right for tire wear out there. So everything went pretty smooth as far as that went. Kind of getting the car ready for its like sweet spot out there. Car is dialed. Dan has what he needs to be able to lead and chase as aggressive as he wants to and how he likes to. We're looking forward to battling with Kangushi, top 32.
Guys, so we're wrapping up the end of our weekend here. We still have to tear this down, but the racing part is over. It's kind of, there's highs and lows in racing. So we had a high this weekend, made top 16. Fun battle with Ken Gucci. We got the win with that one. And then our next battle was Adam LZ. And we kind of have this thing together where he's the only other guy that runs a 3/4 stroker. So most guys will run a 2JZ that's just 3.0. And he wanted to run the Brian Crowder 3/4 stroker like I have for the entire time I've ever drifted with a Supra. I've ran that, and I was always like the guy that did it, and then he started doing it. He's like, it's the battle of the 3/4s. And so, not saying like the drifting part, we're literally seeing who's faster. So like we were both like on a mission to outdrive the other one, and like, so he kind of got me on the run up a little bit because I bumped him on the straightaway, and then I pulled out of throttle like just for like a hair, and then got back in it, and he had like a car length, and then I was able to outrun him, do the exact same thing on the first outer, but then I like had chased him down and was like bumping him on the infield. But what happened is I kind of overdrove my tires, and I smoked the driver rear tire by the time I entered outer 3, and I was like coming in hot, like kind of had gapped him, and I was maintaining my gap, and it looped, it was just done. And so I guess the moral of this story is you learn something every race weekend. Maybe I should have been less emotional and just been like, yeah, I'll let you do your thing, and I'm just gonna be calm and collected. You could think of it that way, I guess, would be one solution. I don't know. It was really fun driving though. But anyways, yeah, so right now you see all this blasted of, parts because we gotta instantly go to Utah and leave the rig there and then fly home to work and whatnot. So what we're doing is switching out rear plug, bash bar, taillights, rear bumper. And that's not like damage necessarily from this weekend. It's just I know that I'm gonna bump walls of this track. So we were like, let's leave all the panels on as long as possible and get the wall tracks out of our way. Utah, no walls. I'm sure you can find a wall there if you wanna fly off track, but no walls on track really. So we'll put some fresh stuff on. And then unfortunately, Irwindale's after that. So we're gonna mess this up a little bit in Irwindale because we like to be close to walls, but I think we could say we're leaving on a high note here because we got more points, top 16. It's hard to say that because I really just want to be out there driving still, but there's positives in this, and the team, everyone's happy. We had a good time, put on a good show for the fans. So hope you guys enjoyed it. We got 2 more tries to work towards that podium this season and all the rest of the years that we get to keep doing this. All right. See you guys.
Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. I think Andres did a great job. We wish we could do that for you for every round. We're just, again, like we mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're filling out different things, trying to be open to what we can bring into the program within what we have to work with. So we'll see. Maybe next year we can get a little more of that. Let us know if you like it. Let us know if you want to see things like that for each FD round.
That leaves 2 rounds left. We then head to Salt Lake City, Utah. That track I have very little seat time on and very little data. We went there in 2022. Wasn't our best showing, and so we had very little. I think I got 7 laps or something total there. They changed the layout again, which they've changed it each year at that facility. So this is a 3rd layout change that they did at that facility. So you kind of like, I think I have the right gear set. I had a plan for like rear shocks being a little bit stiffer and things that are gonna make the car more balanced on that high speed track. We just went into it like, okay, let's try this. It turned out pretty close to what we needed. We did end up making some small changes, but then the car was having an issue. It's basically TPS related, and we're not sure why, but it's like when you look at the log, it looks like I'm going from 0 to 15% like a bunch of times when you're barely in the gas pedal. I'm just trying to like leave the line, and so the car would like buck because it's sending a signal but doing something else, and the air fuel is probably a little bit off at that point, and so it would try and activate the VVTi, and then it would deactivate it and then activate it in the car. Like that didn't help, but luckily my buddy Cody Phillips lives in Utah about 40 minutes from the track, and he's like, I'm gonna come watch practice because I don't think I can come on Friday or Saturday. So he happened to be there on Thursday, and normally I have Ian, like we send him logs back and forth from Ben Calibration.
Get every round.
At every round multiple times, but we never have any issues. The car just works, and he looks over stuff and he says, send me pictures of the plugs, we're all good. Does it feel right? I'm like, yes. And we don't need to make a change if it's working right. Well, suddenly it's not working right. We're thinking it's the elevation. We're gonna fix it before Irwindale, or we kind of patch fixed it, or Cody did. The car worked, I was able to drive. I got 9 laps in total that weekend. Our battle was with Chris Forsberg, and I barely got my chase initiation timing figured out because the first corner was quite awkward the way they made it. Like, it's almost like you get into it and you have to like take angle out, feather, and then like get on the gas, and like the corner changes radius midway. So it's not ideal for a drift car because we just need a smooth arc for it to work properly. But anyways, figured out my chase line probably 1 lap before it was time to go. Oh, ironically, that was with Frederick. He gave a really good lead, and I just drove 100%, well, not 100, but high 90s behind him the whole time. And it was like, I wish that was my battle lap with Chris Forsberg, because
we needed that solid lap.
Yeah, we needed that lap to know, like, yep, the setup's good, like, we're good, go battle Chris. So the track's not easy for anyone. Like, everyone makes minor mistakes on that track, and I didn't know I was leading first also, and I was told as I'm getting the chase line for the burnout box, hey, get in the lead. I'm like, dang it, how did I mix that up?
Well,
I just
that's
assumed
partly my job to tell you that too, but if I tell him on a normal case, he'd be like, yeah, I know Renee. And that's because I knew you were leading.
I didn't know, so my whole mindset going into I just figured that, but I forget that it's on
There's a
draw.
lot going on.
Like, they draw the number, and if you're in the top 24 seated, your number's not nowhere near where it was. It's just a random pick, and so I like forget that every time anyway. So I then was like, whoa, change your mindset. I guess you're leading. I'm like, okay. And so that was about a minute before my battle started, or 4 minutes or something. Tried not to really think, just go to your lead, and I did, but I made like 2 little bobbles, like very small mistakes, and one of them was entering outer zone 2. They said that is why Chris made a mistake behind me, but that doesn't make sense to me. I think I just made that mistake, and Chris should have been like trying to dive through the smoke there and follow
You
me.
were in it a little early.
Yeah, but that's not gonna make. He went super far inside, and I was like, maybe that's my chance. And then I was like, I'll just be more aggressive on my chase, but it just wasn't quite enough. But when you rewatch it, it wasn't like to walk away super disappointed. I just need to be slightly cleaner on my lead and transition timing on my chase a little
Chris
better.
was a better driver.
Yeah. And so then you're like, walk away from that, not what you want, because it's top 32 back in the trailer, tear down your pit, go home. So like.
Well, what I wanted to touch on too for round 7, we mentioned how Cody happened to be there, and we have the support from Ian of Ben Calibration at every round. He's usually like communicating with both Dan and I as far as like logs go and things like that, making sure that the car is healthy and running well.
But that's all remote.
It's remote, and having Cody be there when there happened to be an issue really just reminded us. It saved us for sure. It would have been very, very frustrating without that.
We would have figured it out.
But I don't know.
It
would have been
somehow,
tricky.
but I don't know when we would have. Like, we may have not driven another lap on Thursday, or I would have had to drive through that hiccup thing, which didn't happen after you shift into second gear. It's the weirdest thing.
It reminded us that, these are some of the gaps or like holes that we need to fill within our race program. We aspire to bring it to a place where you can have that knowledge there with you at each round, because we are competing against teams where they're there with their tuner and they're looking over detailed logs together, and that driver can get that feedback, and that translation to learn where and how they can be better at different points on the track. So that's the reality of what's taking place, and a majority of the teams don't have that.
But then the top 10 teams, maybe a couple more, have that, and that's one more, it's not cheating, it's just one more way that they're leveling up above what we're at, and we don't have the funding to do that, so we wouldn't be. That's another human body. You gotta get there, feed them, pay them.
It's part of why we didn't have a dedicated media person all year long as well. In the past, we had Evgeny, and he did great capturing what was taking place with the team and everything like that. But where things have shifted for us in our program, and we're doing great, the best that we can with what we're working with, and our partners are all happy and still want to continue being a part of everything taking place. But you want to, it's a competition, and I guess I'm just trying to shed light on what takes place even just off track. I guess why you may hear from other drivers and teams about how difficult it may be. These are definitive, more detailed reasons of everything that goes into it. So I wanted to share some of that from our experience. We got better notes, the car drove pretty good. Yeah, for sure. So to be transparent with you guys, we do feel a little discouraged at this point in the season, because Dan's been driving so well. The team's been working so smoothly. We had our mistakes, here and there, in Jersey, but it's hard to see the progress being made. And then when you put that up against the hard numbers of where you're at overall in the season, it makes it difficult, and we're not alone in that. There's a lot of teams that feel that way. Everyone's holding themselves to a high standard, and when it comes down to it, you've got 38, 39 guys that are going for 3 positions. So this is just our story in it. It's good for us to, I think, dig deep and, remind ourselves why we're doing this, and you can't win all the time. And I've told Dan, I'm it'd be different if you were getting worse. But that's so far from it.
Yeah.
We've all seen how.
I don't want to come back without saying
it would have to depend on the reasons why. But if there's so much more we want to see out of you and the Supra out on track. It's been such a great show. There's been so many highlights and great moments that have taken place so far. So we're really trying to focus on those things going into round 8. Irwindale is technically one of your past home tracks.
Yeah, that's a fun track.
Yeah.
That's a scary track. That's a track that could total your car.
All the things you love. It gets you going. It's fast.
Yeah, and it uses every bit of the car's power. So if we can just not think and just drive as if it's practice, we should have some good results at that track.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna push hard there, but we pushed hard all year.
I'm looking forward to Irwindale because my last experience there in 22 was not a good one to remember. I think I knew what was kind of coming at that time. We felt the pressure of the uncertainty of 23.
Oh, without a partner.
It became very realistic to me at that round specifically. Irwindale's also one of my most favorite venues. It's just so cool at night, and it's so cool to see the drivers. You guys don't have to make it to the next round, so you guys are just madmen out there in all the right ways. That's going to be exciting. So we have just under a month until we head to Irwindale for our final round. We'll include some of that in, we're probably just going to put together footage for that round and kind of end our chat here, and then we'll get back to you guys with what takes place in the off season with some of the projects that we talked about.
We'll get back to that, but looking forward to next year. The plan is to just do it all over again next year, but a little better. Looks positive that we'll be there next year.
Yes, thanks for following along, you guys, and
hopefully you enjoy the footage and the Irwindale footage that we haven't got yet, but it's gonna come really soon after this sentence here.